Hey, you're here again. I love you. It's no coincidence you're watching now. You spend your whole life trying to justify your existence, prove you matter, earn your place, like you need a reason to be here. Like being alive isn't enough on its own. But what if I told you that needing a reason to exist is the exact thing that's killing your ability to actually live? Most people wake up every day with this invisible weight. The weight of having to matter, having to be productive, having to contribute, having to justify the space they take up in the world. And under that weight, joy doesn't stand a chance. You're so busy proving you deserve to exist that you forget to enjoy existing. Think about a bird singing at dawn. Does it need a reason? Does it check its purpose before it opens its beak? No. It sings because that's what happens when a bird is alive. The song isn't justified. It's not strategic. It's not building toward anything. It's just expression. Pure, unreasonable expression. You used to be like that before the world taught you that everything needs a reason. Before you learned that your value is conditional. Before someone convinced you that joy is something you earn, not something you are. Watch a child play. Really watch. They're not playing to achieve something. They're not developing skills or working toward a goal. They're just playing. Existing. Being. And in that being, there's complete joy. Not happiness that comes from getting something. Joy that comes from nothing except the fact of being alive. That's what you lost. Not because you grew up, but because you learned to measure everything, to evaluate everything, to justify everything, including yourself. And now you can't experience joy without immediately asking, but what's it for? You can't just sit in the sun without feeling guilty about wasting time. You can't laugh without wondering if you've earned it. You can't rest without anxiety creeping in about all the things you should be doing to prove you're worthy of rest. You can't even breathe without that voice in your head, calculating whether you're breathing productively enough, whether you're meditating correctly, whether this moment of peace is justified by the amount of work you've done today. It's exhausting. And it's completely backwards. You don't exist for a reason. You exist, and then reasons emerge from that existence. But the existence itself, that doesn't need justification. It never did. The universe didn't sit down and write a business plan before creating you. You weren't approved by committee. There's no cosmic resume you had to submit. You're here because being here is what happened, and that's enough. But we've built an entire society on the opposite idea. Everything must serve a purpose. Every moment must be optimized. Every action must contribute to something larger. And if you're not producing, achieving, building, contributing, then what are you even doing? You're existing. That's what you're doing. And somewhere along the way, that stopped being enough. Think about how this plays out in your actual life. You can't watch a sunset without taking a photo to prove you saw it. You can't have a conversation without thinking about what you'll get from it. You can't pursue a hobby unless it might turn into a side hustle someday. You can't just be interested in something. It has to be useful. Everything becomes transactional. Everything becomes justified. And in that constant justification, joy suffocates. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. Here's what happens When you finally let go of needing a reason, at first it feels like falling, like you're going to disappear if you're not constantly justifying yourself. But you don't disappear. You actually appear for the first time. Because when you're not spending all your energy proving you deserve to be here, you can finally be here. Really be here. Not as a project, not as a work in progress, not as someone building toward worthiness, just as a being, existing, for no reason at all. And in that existence, without reason, joy shows up. Not the conditional happiness there that comes when things go your way. Real joy. The kind that doesn't make sense. The kind that appears for no reason. The kind that's just there, underneath everything, waiting for you to stop justifying yourself long enough to feel it. It's always been there. You just couldn't access it because you were too busy earning your right to feel good. But joy doesn't work like that. Joy isn't a reward for good behaviour. It's the natural state of existence when you're not covering it with the need to matter. You matter because you're here, not the other way around. You don't become valuable by achieving things. You're valuable, and then you do things. But the value isn't in the doing, it's in the being. Most people never get this. They spend their entire lives building resumes, actual ones and metaphorical ones, trying to prove they deserve the space they occupy. And they wonder why they are never satisfied, why achieving the next thing doesn't fill the hole, why success feels empty. It's because the hole was never about what you hadn't achieved. The hole was about thinking you needed to achieve anything to justify taking up space. When you were born, you didn't need to do anything to deserve love. You didn't need to accomplish anything to warrant food and shelter and care. You existed, and that was enough. And then somewhere, that stopped being true. Or at least you were taught it stopped being true. Someone told you that love is conditional, that acceptance must be earned, that your worth is determined by what you produce, what you achieve, what you contribute to others. And you believed it, not because it's true, but because everyone around you seemed to believe it too. The whole world operates on this principle. Value yourself by your output. Measure yourself by your impact. Judge yourself by your achievements. But it didn't. It never stopped being true. You just forgot. The joy of existing without reason isn't some spiritual bypass where you stop caring about anything. It's not about becoming passive or checking out. It's about remembering that underneath all you're doing, there's being, and that being doesn't need to be earned. When you reconnect with that, everything changes. Not because you stop doing things, but because you stop doing things to justify your existence. You do them because you're alive, and doing things is what alive beings do. But the doing comes from joy, not from the desperate need to matter. You start making choices differently, not based on what will prove you're valuable, but based on what actually resonates with this specific being that you are. And suddenly life gets lighter, not easier, lighter, because you're not carrying the crushing weight of having to deserve your own existence anymore. You'll notice it in small moments first. A moment where you laugh for no reason and don't immediately question whether you've earned the right to laugh. A moment where you sit doing nothing and don't feel guilty. A moment where you exist without the constant background anxiety of whether you're enough. Those moments are glimpses of what's always available when you stop requiring reasons for everything. Let me tell you what this looks like in practice. You wake up in the morning, instead of immediately checking your phone to see what you need to do, who needs you, what's expected of you. You just lie there for a minute, maybe two, just being awake, feeling your breath, noticing you're alive. And in that moment, there's no purpose, no agenda, no reason, just existence. And it feels good. Not productive, not useful, just good. That's it. That's the joy of existing without reason. It's not dramatic, it's not a peak experience. It's just a quiet recognition that being alive is enough. Most people skip right past those moments because they don't seem important. They're not moving you toward anything. They're not building anything. They're not proving anything. Exactly. That's the point. Here's what's true. You're going to die someday. And when that happens, it won't matter how many reasons you had for existing. It won't matter how well you justified your presence. What will matter is whether you actually lived. Whether you actually experienced this bizarre, temporary, miraculous fact of being conscious in a body, on a planet, spinning through space. Most people miss it. They're so busy trying to earn the right to be here that they forget to notice they already are here. And by the time they realise it, most of the time is gone. You don't have to do that. You can stop right now. Stop justifying, stop proving, stop earning. Just exist for no reason, and discover that existing for no reason is where joy lives. It's not a destination. It's not something you achieve after you've worked hard enough. It's what's left when you stop working so hard to deserve what you already have. I want you to understand something. Every moment you spend trying to justify your existence is a moment you're not actually existing. You're performing, you're calculating, you're measuring, but you're not living. Living happens when the measuring stops, when you're not trying to deserve anything, when you're just here, noticing you're here, and that's enough. That tree outside your window doesn't justify itself. It doesn't question whether it's productive enough. It just grows. And in that growing, it's complete. Not because it's achieving some goal, but because growing is what trees do when they're alive. You're the same. Being is what you do when you're alive. Everything else, the achievements, the purposes, the reasons, those are just things that happen while you're being. But they're not why you're here. You're here first. The reasons come after. And when you get that, when you really feel it, joy stops being something you chase. It stops being something you earn. It becomes the baseline. The thing that's always there when you're not covering it up with the need to matter. The reason you're watching this right now isn't random. It's not coincidence. It's because something in you is ready to remember. Ready to stop the endless, exhausting work of mattering and just be. Just exist. Just enjoy the weird, temporary, completely unjustifiable fact of being alive. You don't need permission for that. You don't need to earn it. You don't need a reason. You just need to stop requiring one. What would change if you woke up tomorrow and decided that your existence doesn't need justification? That you're allowed to just be here? Not because you've earned it. Not because you're productive enough. Not because you matter to the right people. Just because you're here. Everything would change. Not externally. You'd probably do most of the same things. But internally, the weight would lift. The constant anxiety about whether you're enough would quiet. And in that quiet, you'd discover something that was always there, but you couldn't hear over the noise of justifying yourself. Joy. Simple and reasonable joy. The kind that doesn't need a reason. The kind that exists just because you exist. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, "I exist without reason." Write it as your reminder. Nobody